and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the superintendent please call the rolls?
Mr. Austin.
Present.
Ms. Chisholm.
Here.
Ms. Cormier.
Present.
Ms. Crowley.
Present.
Mr. Morenin.
Present.
Ms. Wetzel.
Present.
Mr. Lipset.
Present. I have approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved to approve.
So that's 6:26:24 minutes.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That brings us to public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to address us? I do see the mayor of Woburn, Mr. Michael Buchanan. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll be brief. I know you have a long agenda tonight. I really just wanted to come by and say hello and touch base. I hope everybody had a nice summer, got a chance to relax a little bit, recharge. I know the administration was hard at work hiring new members of the team, and I got a chance to meet with many of them last week, the new hires as well as the staff during convocation. Very positive time. You could feel the positive vibe in the room, a lot of good energy, so I'm looking forward to a great year. I think we've made some investments that are going to bear some fruit this year, and just to reiterate, I appreciate the cooperation of this committee and the city council to get us to this position. I think we're probably in the strongest position we've been in a long time in this district. And as I said to the new teachers and the staff in general, they are the investment, and we look forward to seeing the impacts of that investment. And we have faith in them, we believe in them, and we feel strongly that this will be worth it. So I really just wanted to come by and say hello and wish you the very best this upcoming school year. You, the team, the staff, teachers, paras, all the staff in all the schools. Very optimistic at the start of this year. And I really just want to wish you the very best, and I look forward to continued cooperation with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it. I appreciated your, I didn't get a chance to hear you at convocation, but I appreciated your words to our new staff as well. Thank you. All right. Is there any other members of the public who wish to join us? Thank you. Come on up. If you could state your name.
My name is Stephen Ox. I live in Arlington and I teach physics here in Woburn. In the spring of this year, a petition was circulated at the high school related to cell phone policy at the high school, and I'm here to deliver that petition. I don't want to read the petition in its entirety, but it essentially asks that the school committee consider extending the current prohibition of cell phone use in the classroom to a prohibition of cell phone use in the school for the entire school day. Such a ban seems supported by the federal government and DESE here in Massachusetts, as evidenced in particular by the federal grant administered by DESE, allocating money to address the use of electronic devices by students throughout the school day in middle school and high school, and seems to be gaining momentum in the state and around the country in major school systems. As elsewhere, the issue shows an extraordinary degree of unanimity among teachers, with about 80% of the professional status teachers signing this petition. While there are admittedly significant challenges to implementing such a policy, including details of implementation and valid parental concerns around communication during emergencies, the challenges seem no greater than those associated with other educational reforms currently being pursued, and the benefits of limiting cell phone use in this way seem, from our perspective, to be a necessary condition for significant positive change. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. If you could do me a favor and leave the petition with Ms. McLeod, we can get it into the record. Thank you so much. Just for the public, the committee is not allowed to engage in discussion with members of public comment, but I can tell you that this is a topic that the policy subcommittee will be taking up at their next meeting, correct? Yeah. All right. Is there any other member of the public who wishes to join us? Seeing none? Okay. That brings us to our city council liaison. I see Mr. Viola in the audience. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to echo the sentiments of the mayor as well from the City Council. We want to wish the students, teachers, staff, as well as the administration and the school committee, great school year. We look forward to working with you. And another thing just to bring up is September 26th, between the city, myself, and the Mystic Water Rivershed, we're going to be hosting a cleanup down at the Shaker Glen Conservation Area, so right behind the Four Corners, that students will be able to get volunteer hours if they do come help and clean up. And that'll be from 4:30 to 6 p.m. at night. And I'm sure more information will be on the city's website shortly. So.
Thank you for that, I appreciate it. And send our thanks to the city council as well. All right, and that brings us to reports and presentations of superintendent staff.
Sure. First is Director of Facilities, Mr. Lenny Burnham, to come up and report about the goings-on in the Woburn Public Schools over the course of the summer. One of the benefits of the summer is the schools aren't quite as used, and I say quite because a lot of the schools are used during the summer for various purposes, whether it's summer school, ESY programming, etc. And one of the things that I always am really, really proud of is when we open schools, how great they look. And so it's a tribute to the facilities department and the custodial staff who do work all summer, and they have quite a routine. I mean, by the bell rings to release students at noon. At 12:30, all the desks are in the hallway, and they have their routine going. So they're working all summer, and Mr. Burnham was in his first, as you know, first season in this capacity, and we were able to get quite a bit done. And so I just wanted to highlight what did happen and what projects to happen in the future. So, Mr. Burnham.
Well, I think, good evening. I think you all got what we sent out. I won't go over everything on there. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer. I think most everybody's seen a lot of the paving projects. I know, the Alta Vista paving has been on everyone's list for quite a while. Not like anyone's heard complaints about that. A lot of the paving projects, almost all of them were done with using the DPW's crews and staff, and benefiting from their cost-saving measures of bidding out asphalt pricing and things like that. So, we're still paying for the materials, but at a greater reduced rate than we would get on the open market. So that's helped us get a lot of stuff done with saving as much money as possible. I think everyone has seen the staging is finally down from the front of the joist, so we've taken care of some of the issues that were dangerous. An old building, we don't want anyone to get hurt. We did similar things at the Alta Vista and the Kennedy with, some masonry work around where stuff was kind of crumbling and falling apart. As far as electrical stuff goes, there's been quite a bit that was done. I think everybody's probably received complaints about lighting at either the Harold Wyman or the Goodyear, or we're still working on some issues, but the bulk of them have been resolved. The lighting control systems that are in the buildings are different in every building, and subsequently there are different vendors that work on each one. So it's taken longer than I would like, but we are getting there. As far as some of the painting and floor refinishing stuff you've seen, I know that Tom Qualey's had on his capital list for a few years to get the stage redone here. If you get a chance to look at it, it looks great. We got that done. Gym floors at a bunch of the schools, including the high school. Painting, as far as we always want to get way more done than we can. We did get a bunch of admin offices done here because of some program moves. The SOAR program moved from the white to the Alta Vista. We did some office reconfiguration, built some new offices. So all of that was painted, and I don't know if you'll see some of the summer kids did all the picnic tables at the high school, so they look good. Carpentry work, we did in the flooring. We did do a bunch of the tiles at the lower entrance at the white. I know that some were done last year. We finished that project this year, and hopefully we can keep picking away at getting some of the entrance ways to look better in the schools and not, have broken floors everywhere we go. Carpentry work, obviously they built a bunch of new offices and programs that moved. Sensory integration items have been moved from different rooms to hallways, which is, taking up a good deal of time. But the guys really did some good work. One of the projects that's probably least favorite to everyone else, but to me, they rebuilt the walk-in fridge at the Kennedy, which, the doors were collapsing, and they did a really good job. It came out great. As far as roof repairs, I don't think I have to tell anybody, we need roofs in some buildings, but currently, we have no active leaks at the Shamrock and the Linscott, which was a lot of work to get to that point. We're still working on some minor stuff at the Alta Vesta and the Kennedy, but we've gotten the bulk of everything caught up, and we seem to be ahead of it right now. Hopefully it can stay that way. The HERA program is the asbestos for schools statewide. We were fortunate enough to have the DLS, Mass DLS, have one of their agents show up at the Linscott early on and do an inspection, so we had some catching up to do. All the staff needed to have mandatory HERA training, which we've completed. There's a lot of paperwork that needed to be done, and that's all up to date now. We're working with our hygienist to do some bulk sampling and a few other things, but we are completely compliant with Mass DLS now for HERA, which is good. The HVAC mechanicals, we've made a lot of progress. The guys worked really hard this year. There's still a lot more to do. Just evaluating, RTUs, BMS systems, but I feel like we've got a much better handle on it than we did a couple months ago. I think when you look around at the grounds, you'll see that the guys tried real hard to get a lot of things done. We did rebuild some catch basins at several buildings. We concentrated this summer on cleaning a lot of the catch basins and trying to get back to maintaining some of our stormwater protection devices. The schools are included in the MS4, which is the city's stormwater compliance package, and we've been lax in getting a lot of that done, but I think we're at least in compliance today with it. We still have a long way to go. I think when you look around, you'll see, like behind the white is an example of, that's a stormwater protection that's, hasn't been maintained in a while, but we're making progress at it, and it takes time. Pest control, obviously there was a lot of complaints at the end of the year. We ended up bringing on a new vendor, using a bunch of different techniques. Obviously, I can say I think we have it under control today, but there hasn't been food in the buildings in 2 months. So, I think if everybody works hard to monitor what they're doing, I think we can stay ahead of that. Security is obviously kind of a hot topic. We've completed most of the two-way radio implementation, which included antennas, repeaters, server devices, base stations in all the schools. Tomorrow, the base station will be installed at the police station. The radio network is up and running. The schools are using it. It still needs some tweaking, but it's important because it's going to give everybody access directly to each other and to the police, emergency services. Dugmore and Duncan completed their door lock hardware inventory. We've been working with them on scope of work for changes that need to be made, key policies. You wouldn't think a key policy could be so intricate, but it is. So Dr. Crowley, the two assistant superintendents, myself, IT, we're all been working with them trying to get everything on paper so we can move forward. We've also engaged with Smart Security Partners about a Woburn School District security roadmap. It's important. There's a lot of things we can do, just outside hardening the building envelope, right, with policies about, not propping doors open for DoorDash, and there's a lot of that still goes on. People don't think about it but security, it takes all of us for security, everybody, from paras and lunch monitors to students and teachers and admin. So security, Smart Security Partners is working with us to get us a roadmap of everything we can do to move forward with security in our buildings, from policies to vestibules to envelope hardening. So hopefully that's moving forward. When the capital is approved by the council, which I don't know when that is, but looking from the mayor, that's approved, so when the funds are released for that, we do have a lot more projects that we're working on. Some vestibule work in various buildings. The parking at the White, we want to get some increased parking there, so that's something we have a plan for. Security lighting at the Shamrock for the playgrounds. There's definitely more roof work to be done and some HVA mechanical work. We recently got some bad news that we've got fire sprinkler work that needs to be done. The buildings are 20 years old. Fire sprinkler heads are rated for 20 years, so some of those have to be changed. It's quite expensive, so we'll be working on that. And we've done a lot of work with the IT department, the old director and the new director, trying to kind of implement with both departments, because we work so closely together between this type of stuff in the buildings to access, key card access, security access, cameras. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be upgraded and maintained, but that's been going pretty good. Gideon, the new director, is great. Jen was great, so making some progress there. I'm sure you all heard we had a mold issue at the Reeves. We brought in professional cleaners as quickly as we could. They worked over Labor Day weekend. We have a handle on it now. We're still running air scrubbers nightly, using UVC light to, kill anything that's in the air. It's important that we keep everybody safe, and I think, we're going as best as we can, as quickly as we can. The state is actually hosting a webinar on Thursday about mold in schools because of the humidity levels that we've had over the past few summers. We'll be on that. We're working on other things in the building mechanically to try to curb the moisture in there. But this time of year, the humidity levels drop, and we're ahead of it right now. I'm not sure if you guys have any questions or comments or.
Any questions for Mr. Burnham, Ms. Cormier?
Thank you for all of this. This is an excellent list. How would the parking at the White increase? What do you have for options?
So the engineering department and the DPW, we met on site. Everybody has a few different ideas. After, meeting with the engineering and the DPW, the most logical one is to put a small satellite lot in the middle on top of the ledge area. Without any test holes being done, we feel like we can get at least 10 spaces without too much trouble. We might be able to get another 5 depending on how hard the ledge is and how far the ledge travels.
Mm-hmm.
But we can do that without affecting the stormwater system, parking lot lighting. We looked at trying to increase it on Bow Street. We looked at it trying to increase it down the back. But that brings in Stormwater Protection Act. So this is at this point, probably the easiest, most effective way to get the biggest bang for our buck.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we will need the DPW to do a lot of the work to get it in a cost-effective manner.
And the catch basin, that's the fenced-off area?
It's a stormwater infiltration device.
Okay.
Yes, and it's overgrown, and it has full of siltation, so it's not working correctly, which causes the baseball field to flood.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's where the balls in the trash
correct,
gets- yeah.
correct,
That's what I like to clean out during cleanup day.
correct.
I sneak in there.
And I mean, there's different ones around the district. If you look at the Harold Wyman, you see those concrete structures that are, the entrances, those are called storm scepters. They're a different style for high groundwater, but those have maintenance that need to be done also.
You mentioned in your list that the Harold Wyman, I think the gym floor was done twice. Was that a leak?
It was done once. Myself and the custodian and the principal weren't happy with the job that was done, so we made them come back and do it again, which is kind of a problem because the rec department uses it, and they weren't able to use it for quite a long time. But I think everybody is happy with the product that we have now.
You mentioned under the HVAC mechanicals something about grants for electrification. Is that something you're applying for?
Yes,
or-
so we're working with the city's grant writer. So currently, we have a grant in place that was applied for last year to do a hybrid water heater at the Shamrock. So a hybrid water heater, you guys are aware, it's an air source heat pump water heater, basically a mini split that they use to heat water. It's very effective, and we have a grant for that. That project will be being done this fall. And then we're looking at more of those, from as simple as electrifying our grounds equipment to more in-depth projects where we're trying to electrify or upgrade some of our refrigeration to the newer technologies.
You mentioned the Old Wyman and the Herald cleanouts. Is that school property or?
So, the old Wyman is no longer school property.
What is the contents, I guess?
The contents are still a lot of school property.
Okay.
So we've made a conscious effort to try to get the best stuff out of there. With all the new staff we'd hired, we'd used a lot of it. It's come in handy because we haven't had to buy as much as we would have. 120 new staff members, is that something like that, Dr. Crowley?
A little more.
All right, so, desks and chairs for those people are, so that's been a kind of a good resource to have. We're working with the DPW and the mayor's office on cleaning out everything from the Herald. I'm sure you've seen that on Facebook, if anybody wants anything. But there is a lot of school stuff that was still left in the Herald, so we've taken some of the stuff that we feel like we can use and moved it over to the old one.
And then just the security policy updates. Would you want to come to the policy subcommittee to discuss those, to get those?
Yeah, I think, we need to get with Smart Security Partners, because he's going to try to give us a map to follow, what we can do immediately and help us with where our policy deficiencies are. As simple as propping doors open. Do we have a policy that says you can't do that? I know you see students are outside for an activity and a teacher has a badge. They don't want to have to go back to the school to let them in because they don't have badges, so they prop the door open. We could be as simple as having the teacher have 2 badges, and they could give one to the student to let them back in. So there's a lot of little things that Mike and his staff, his team have identified. Once the contract's in place and we start moving forward with that, we'll be coming to try to invoke a lot of these policies to make everybody safer.
Great, thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Burnham? Ms. Wetzel?
Hi, thank you for all the work that you've done, to you and your team. It was a great list, and thank you, too, for getting it to us prior to the meeting. It was nice to be able to read what you've done and then come in prepared, so thanks, I appreciate that.
I've done very little. It's all the guys that work under me.
Well, thank you, Ted.
They work very hard. The tremendous crew you guys have here.
Well, thank you.
have.
I did have a question. You had mentioned some money savings that we've had with the collaboration that we've been able to do, which I think is wonderful. Are you able to track the savings?
So we do have a spreadsheet. The issue that we haven't, that I didn't present it to you with, is all of the asphalt bills haven't come. Benevento's is where the contract is currently at. They appear to be very slow at their billing. I'm just getting June's bills now. So when I have a full, complete list of all of the materials that we've used, I'll be happy to share it with you. And what I know we've gotten prices through previous contractors, I can share those with you, and we'll be able to look and see an actual dollar figure of what we've saved.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate that. And then
Sorry, just to break in, that sounds like something that finance could take a look at the next meeting as well.
Perfect. And the only other question, you touched on this a little bit, was the contents inside the Herald School that are being given to the public. Do you have a date for that, just in case someone didn't see it on Facebook?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow and Thursday, and then it's, moving to somewhere else where it won't be accessible.
Got it. Okay. So for anyone that wants it, should
Yes.
be prepared. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Chisholm?
Actually, during finance, and it's in my minutes, so I can delete that once we answer this, we said that you requesting that the custodian that we eliminated from the budget this past, but you want to put that person back in.
Yeah, I do. I think, for me personally, it's unfair for me to make a cut to somewhere where I haven't had enough time to see it, is number one. Number two, the high school's already down from 11 to 10, and if that was where the cut was, it would be 9. Contractually, that would, we'd end up having to work with the union on how and where that went, and I'm not sure that's fair with all the new staff we have, that we're going to cut a custodian and leave somebody short.
Right. I think it was going to be at the elementary level.
That was the initial intent, right?
Okay. And so that, but that you're not going to fill the HVAC person, so we're actually
We-
not going
The position has been out there, and no
Right.
one has applied, so I guess that was the decision, that we'll take that funding so we can keep the custodian. And I may give you a different answer, 10 months from now.
Okay.
But right now, I don't think it's fair to try to cut that without me knowing. I've only been during school for a month.
I just don't want people to think, saying we're hiring more people than we even got budgeted for and going overnight, but that's something that we
Agreed.
actually care for. But we're going to have maintenance people retiring, so,
Currently, there are 2 listed to retire in November. We'll see if that actually happens. But if they do, they're both going to be a great loss.
yeah.
They're both very knowledgeable and they're very valuable. But they've earned the right to retire if that's what they want to do, so
But budgetary purposes, will we be able to fill those positions?
we should be able to fill them, yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
I hope.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Burnham? Thank you, and I want to thank you for all of the work that you've done and that your crew has done this summer. It's really been impressive, and I really appreciate the energy and the creativity that you've brought to the Woburn Public Schools, so thank you.
Like I said, I'm blessed to have good guys, good staff underneath, not just guys and girls. And thank you guys for all the support. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
And pass along your thanks to your
I will.
force. Thank you. And that brings us to Dr. Crowley.
So my report really is about coming back to school. And so I have the slides I shared with them. I made them a little bit nicer than on the draft that I sent out on Friday. But we're back. And what I would tell you is, anecdotally, it feels the best it's felt in years to open up schools this year. I will tell you that walking through schools, kids are in class, learning, teachers are teaching. The general, quote, vibe of each and every school is positive. It's been a very smooth opening this year. We have approximately 4,500 students every day coming into our schools. One of the areas that we are still working out the kinks, to be perfectly transparent, is transportation, and that does take some time. We do have 2 different companies that we largely rely on, North Suburban Transportation, which has been great. We do have a bus rights app, and I'm saying that publicly because it's an opportunity for parents who are either listening or hear it later. You can download an app and then track where the school bus is in real time, so you can see when the bus is going to arrive to pick up your child and or drop them off in the afternoon. It works in real time. The way it works is the driver just turns on an iPad on the bus, and it syncs with this software package. I think we're in our 3rd year with the program, and it's really kind of paid dividends, especially actually in the afternoon when there may be traffic issues, and then you can see in real time the bus might be 5 or 10 minutes delayed, and so it's been a good resource for us, for families, and for students. So, and then NRT, North Reading Transportation, transports a significant percent of our special education students. You might recall back during the pandemic where we had the National Guard drivers driving the NRT buses. We don't rely on the National Guard anymore, but we are working with NRT daily to ensure that our students get to school on time each and every day and picked up on time. And so, again, things happen at the beginning of every day or at the end of every day. Today, we were fortunate. There was a fire near the Kennedy Middle School, but it didn't affect the transportation, but it could have. And then later in the day, I heard that 128 had been shut down because of a fire. So things way outside of our control can impact transportation, but we're working through those things. That being said, kids are coming in and excited, so far they're excited, to come into school and ready to learn. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of a fire hose, if you will, between the last time we met and where we are today, Because we are quite busy in the summer, I just want to highlight some of the things that we do in the summer to prepare to open up the doors successfully for our students. This past summer, we offered professional learning opportunities. You've seen a lot of these things, so I'm going to go through these more quickly than not. But we had, I think, of 130 educators take advantage of the summer professional development that was offered, and so that's internally. And we have quite a few educators who take advantage of things outside of Woburn as well during the summer. This is really a tribute to Courtney's department, the curriculum and instruction department, Ms. Young's department, and the folks that work with her, and Ms. Ryan, because one of the things we focus on here is safety care training, and so that really falls under her purview. But again, we've had people in schools advancing their knowledge all summer, and it's really a great resource. The other thing, the responsive classroom that is highlighted here, one of the things we've been able to do over the past couple of years is we now have internal trainers, so we don't have to bring people in to train. So our capacity has grown, so we're able to do a lot of things internally, and that saves money, but it also allows more people to be trained during the course of the year as well. So that's been a great addition over the past couple years. Here's summer of '24 hiring. So first of all, we've hired over 100 new staff into the Woburn Public Schools. One of the things that you have a hard copy of, and I didn't put into slide form because I wanted this to be as current as possible, and it would take up quite a few slides. We've hired 123 new staff into the public schools since we closed in June, and so that is a Herculean task, and I'll talk about it a little bit, but while the mayor is here, I will tell you that the support from the city allowed us to do a lot of this. And so we've been able to onboard multiple new teachers, but paraprofessional support staff. On this list are interventionists, a school nurse, custodian. So we've really had the opportunity to almost reinvent or transform a lot of the schools, and it's broken down, you can see, by school and what the capacity of every person is. And I say all that because I want to say thank you to the people that made this happen. The principals have worked more or less all summer as well. They are considered the hiring authority for each of their schools, and so they come in and do a lot of the hiring over the summer. They do take vacations here and there, but this summer we've been quite busy. They are assisted oftentimes by particularly special ed coordinators, but sometimes curriculum coordinators. No one person is doing hiring individually. It's all done as a group. And so when possible, we've invited teachers to be part of hiring committees as well over the course of the summer. We've actually had students that were in summer programs be students for, we call them demo or model lessons of candidates, so that the candidate would come in and do a model lesson, and students would have the opportunity to give feedback to the hiring committee. And so that process has been ongoing, and then ultimately recommendations get pushed to human resources. So we're fortunate Tony Wyman has done a great job this summer of being responsive, almost literally 24/7, as far as moving people through the queue, because one of the things that we were cognizant of is other districts are hiring too, so we want to make sure that we're making offers in real time and being competitive and all of those things. And so Tony Wyman, Micah Doty works in the Human Resources Office too. She's been terrific. She does a lot of the onboarding and benefits work. And then once they start getting paid, Carrie Carpenter is the payroll person now, so like everybody, we have a pretty good workflow with onboarding, and we had to, because with this many new people, and we've had 2 payrolls already, and things are going well. I would also be remiss if I didn't say the central, Tiffany, my administrative assistant, has been here all summer. I try to the extent possible to meet with every new teacher hired, just to put face to name, and I think it's a nice thing to do. If I'm not available, Maureen and/or Courtney are meeting with people. We want people to know who we are. We want people to be successful. I always say, if I walk into your class, I don't want you to, like, who's this strange guy walking in, but to feel free to ask any questions as they enter into the Woburn Public Schools. And so it's really been a great summer because of the new energy that people have been bringing. The all levels and positions is this hard copy that I'm alluding to of the names and positions. We still do have vacancies, I can tell you that, believe it or not. Majority are special education paraprofessional type vacancies. All of our regular ed classroom positions are filled at the moment, and it's been it's a different feel because if you remember, for the past few years, we've been opening up and not quite staffed to the level that we needed, and so it feels really good. So. We did have a new staff orientation August 26 and August 27. It was a 2-day orientation. It used to be, years ago, we used to do the orientation in this room. And then now we do it in the high school auditorium. And so I share that because we have to have the space to do that. A lot of the orientation, again, falls under the direction of Ms. Ryan, Ms. Young, and the principals. We run a 2-day orientation, as I alluded to. One of the things we start with is, I like to say thank you to everybody that is starting in public education right now. This environment in public education is different, and I am grateful to anybody that chooses a career in public education. The numbers of college students going into public education is going down dramatically, and so I am grateful to people that come into public education and for what I believe is the best job in the world, because you're literally changing lives in the future. But so we start by saying thank you, welcome, and that you belong. I really, we do build in time during the orientation to allow people to ask questions. There's no bad questions, is what I say. But we want people to feel supported as they come into the Woburn Public Schools, to know that they are part of the community, whether they're from Woburn or not. We still have quite a few. It's kind of neat. We've hired a few young people who are graduates of the Woburn Public Schools coming back, and some of them going to work at the schools in which they attended. So that's really kind of nice. But we also have a lot of new people from different backgrounds, and so it's really been a fun summer. The orientation, we introduced, the mayor was there for the first day, Andrew as well, and we kind of just give an overview of who the Woburn Public Schools are, and then one of the things we do is break into student services, the curriculum department, and technology, and then for like 45 minutes, and people move and then go back to spend time at their schools. Really, that's, the first day, there was a few teachers like, I just want to go see my classroom. So, I get it. So, and so that was, but that worked out really well. And again, that's at the high school. And then we do day 2, where we invite the paraprofessionals as well. Because of our growing population, we do a lot of work with the ML population, with Rania, doing some overview with them. The Student Services Department does the 504 IEP. Kathy Boge, supervision and evaluation, and then Chris Murphy does some paraprofessional training. So that's a new thing that we've added the past couple years, so that the paraprofessionals have some support as they start with us. And then I think everyone's favorite was the ice cream sundays in the afternoon on day 2.
And was that our principal team serving the ice cream?
Yeah, so that's our, yeah, so we did invite the principal team at the end of day 2 to come down. All the schools were there. They all spoke. Like I'm looking at Wayne, the Shamrock School is the best school in Woburn. And then, Carl Nelson will say, the Kennedy's the best middle school, and so it's all really, really fun. And so, actually, and we do have quite a range of administrators. Even I'm looking at the screen. We've been able to add some new administrators to our district as well. We'll probably invite them to an upcoming meeting. But as I'm looking here, Carl Nelson, he's starting his 25th year as principal of Kennedy Middle School. So that's a tribute to his stamina and commitment to the kids in Woburn. And Wayne is in his 19th year at the Shamrock, and next to him, I believe, is Michelle Kelly, who's in her 2nd year at the Reeve. So there's a range of people that make up the administrative team. On September 3rd, we finally welcome back staff, and I do think you get the email. So essentially, this day was divided by grade level and department to provide professional development. When we're onboarding new curriculums, we want to make sure that people have the background and support that they need to effectively implement them. So we spent time with the staff on the 3rd doing exactly that at a variety of different locations throughout the district, some in person and some virtual. And then the convocation was on the 4th. That was a fun day. It's always nice to bring back everybody to the high school. This was our agenda, 8 to 8:30. I was able to speak. Fortunately, the mayor was also able to be there. Andrew
Beamed me in remote.
He was remote, but also an opportunity for new staff to be recognized. And then I also do a thing where I ask people that have been here for 25 years to be recognized. And then I go through 25 to 30 and then stay standing, and 30 to 35. And so we have somebody with over 35 years of service in the Woburn Public Schools that I think she said she's retiring this year, but I don't know if I believe her. But anyway, it's really a tribute to the staff that people stay here for so long. We did have a great keynote this year. Dr. Katie Novak was our keynote speaker. She's a world-renowned author, bestseller in UDL, University of Design Learning. And she has done equity work with us in Woburn before. We're actually working with her Friday for a full day as a leadership team, trying to make sure that we all are understanding what UDL is, and really what it is about giving students choice about their learning, so that there's not just one way to do something, that there are multiple ways to attack a potential answer. And so she was terrific. We did a feedback survey. She was really, really well received, high energy. And ultimately, people returned back to their schools. The following morning, we started school on September 5th. I don't know if people on the committee have back-to-school dreams or not, but this is one of those nights that I don't sleep really well. My concern really is transportation, believe it or not. I think we have all the infrastructure in place, but making sure that people get to where they need to go and then are welcomed. And we did have a really good first day. The mayor, the chief of police, and myself began the day at the high school. It was nice. The kids were actually saying hello at 7 in the morning, 7:15 in the morning. It's not always the case, but the energy was palpable. Kids were ready to come in. They were greeted by the staff. The We made our way over to the Joyce here, and then I wound up we all went to the Reeves Elementary School as well. This is the Reeves, this is the Reeves. Yeah, this is the Reeves, and so this is the kindergarten entry, and so there's a lot of anxiety, and then even more anxiety for the adults. But no, it was a great day. A lot of students finding out where they're going and routines, and it worked out really well. And the weather cooperated too, I should say, because that plays a factor. And new routines and expectations. And so, like I said, Mr. Quayle, actually, this is by accident, but if you look at the picture on the upper right, you'll see Mr. Quayle there. That is the area that was fixed over the summer, so it's not going to fall on him. But so he's over 30 years in the Woburn Public Schools, but I don't know how long he's been off the top of my head. And then on the lower picture at the Goodyear Elementary School, Ms. Patrici organizing lunch and recess, and so that was always fun to be in a cafeteria the first day of school, and students excited to talk to each other and share what they did over the course of the summer, and then also learn how to open milk cartons and things like that. So it was a lot of fun, high energy, but also very exhausting as we make it through. And so one of the things that I wanted to provide to the committee is an enrollment snapshot, like who are we? Before I get to this, I'm going to actually back out and just explain it a little bit. This isn't going to surprise anybody. We have, nothing's changed. We're still enrolling students all the time. So I had a conversation actually with Ms. Patrici this afternoon, and she's like, Matt, I gave you numbers yesterday, but we had 4 more enrolled today. And so it's been a very dynamic summer. We've enrolled over 100 students, grade 1 and above, since July 1st. I don't know how many we've lost. I haven't done that, but not everybody returns. But and so I'm saying that to again highlight that we're in a constant state of evolution here. So who we are in June and then who we are in September does vary, and so we've pulled numbers for the sake of just giving you this now. What I will tell you is DESE asked us to submit our numbers to them on October 1st. And so, because the numbers are so variable, the middle and high school numbers, I know, are going to go up from what you see here. But I wanted to kind of give you that context. And so the number, you have these, but the overall we have 1,926 students in the elementary schools. What we don't have here listed on purpose is the pre-K, because those numbers are still being firmed up. And so when you look, as an example, at the Reeves, you see 323 students, but when we add in the pre-K students, that number will go up. They started on Friday, so we still are working to ensure some accuracy of the pre-K numbers, both at the Shamrock and at the Reeves Elementary. And so and like I just alluded to, I believe the number of middle school, the 993 middle school and the 1251 high school are going to go up. But I wanted to give people a few days to kind of settle to make sure that we had accurate information. What I did do was have the principals at each of the elementary schools give me these numbers, confirm them with me, and so that's an enrollment snapshot as of this morning, but I can tell you, like I just said, it's different than now here at 10 of 8. And so I'll stop and pause and take any questions that people have.
Any questions for Dr. Crowley on back to school in general? Ms. Crowley?
I just had a question. So if someone wanted to access because I see this summer professional learning, it's just awesome. And a new teacher was hired after the fact, can they access this training? Was it recorded or anything?
It wasn't recorded, but we'll offer it during the course of the year.
Really?
And when we did hire people, we if dependent on when we hired them, we gave them a sheet so they could take the PD over the summer as well. Again, if they were onboarded.
Now, am I correct that this is the Compass program? And I know Ms. Ryan's not here, but the Compass program, and Courtney, that the trainers train the other teachers?
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Also, the responsive classroom is
That's awesome.
yeah, Natasha and Amy, Natasha Block and
I guess what
Amy
I'm getting
Mays,
at
yeah.
is that it's a peer-led professional development experience. It's not just, people coming in.
Oh, right, yeah, the
Yeah.
summertime, yes, yeah.
Right. Okay, that's awesome. And I guess the enrollment numbers, so it's 4170-ish, and so it's probably around the 250. I don't want you to guess, but we're still pretty elevated as we were from last year.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So what I'm getting at, the school committee still needs to keep an eye on enrollment and the class sizes and the space issues in the elementary schools.
Absolutely.
They didn't solve themselves.
No, they did not solve themselves over the summer. No, and again, some schools bubble up a little bit, some decline for, different reasons. And, but no, that problem or issue is something that we still need to talk about.
Okay, great, thank you. And just overall, I'm so grateful and thankful for the administration putting together this amazing experience for teachers to come back, because it's not easy being a teacher, right, Andrew?
It is not.
Coming
Can't
back
confirm.
with such a positive reception and having things built in, and also just time to be with peers is just so amazing. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Ms. Watson?
Yes, I agreed. Thank you so much for all this hard work. Thank you also for getting this to us last week.
Yeah.
Thank you. I had a question, though, about the bus ride app. If parents wanted to find that, if they don't already have it, where should they go to look for it?
I think if you...
Could you just search for it, like, in the app
I would
store?
Google busrights.com.
Yep.
And I believe you'll get there.
Okay.
I did send out a some more earlier this year, a week or two ago, that had a QR code on it as well, and so people can download it there.
I can confirm it is available on the Google Play or,
Yeah.
I assume, Apple Store.
Great.
Yeah.
And then the NRT buses, do they also utilize the bus ride app?
No, not yet. We have to work with them to, because they work in so many different districts, so that it's a conversation that we're having.
So something hopefully down the line?
Right.
Great. And then lastly, just thank you for the list of all the staff members at each school, especially as a new member. That's very beneficial.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any additional questions for Dr. Crowley? And thank you for what sounds like a wonderful start to the school year and a great presentation with us.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Andrew, thank you for being there, too.
Oh,
On our behalf.
I unfortunately wasn't able to make the convocation. I was welcoming my own students to my classroom, but I was able to send a recorded message, so thank you for accommodating me with that.
Yeah.
All right, and that brings us now to the wellness policy. This is on the table for discussion only tonight. We will take this up at our next meeting for a vote. But Ms. Cormier, I don't know if you wanted to introduce this.
Yep, so the Wellness Committee has met a number of times over the last year. We are required to have a Wellness Committee because we are part of the National School Lunch Program. So that was implemented, and this wellness policy was brought forth by Sarah Lee, nurse, not leader anymore, coordinator, nurse coordinator, based on some other coaching she had had at her previous district that was offered by DESE. And so that's something we were going to look into doing as well, but she had put this together And we had conversations about it, and the committee consists of Julie Gage from the Boys Club, Mr. Quayle, Mr. Nickerson from the White, the health teachers, there are Denise Denizio from Harold Wyman, so there are a number of stakeholders involved, and that will sort of rotate as the different topics come up. We will add different sort of professionals for the different areas, but so far this is what we have been presented with, so the floor is open for discussion.
Any questions or comments regarding the wellness policy?
No, go ahead, Mrs. Schuster.
This is just.
I just want to make sure that we're not in conflict with any contracts, because in here it states 20 minutes for recess for the elementary, and I believe it's 15 for the elementary school. And there's certain places in here that it says we will make sure the kids do this. I don't want to tie the hands of a principal or a teacher that has to add something else to their daily schedule, because we're telling them they have to have kids stand up and move around the classroom. And a lot of elementaries do that, but I don't want it to be a daily thing that they have to do something, because all we have to do is, once we make it a policy, people are going to start moaning and groaning about not following. There was some spot, and then there was like it said 60 minutes for PE, and I believe PE is only 45 minutes at the elementary. And at the high school, it's 80, and I don't think it's 80 minutes at the high school either. So these are the things I just want to make sure we verify that it's in there. And then there was one place that we talked about fundraising, and that mandatory from midnight on. I don't know if we can control somebody's hours outside of the school day, but that's in there on page 5. I mean, we could do school hours, but I don't think we can tell somebody from midnight on, this is what you're going to do.
On site,
Yeah, but
like it's legal.
right, it's just that I think we should do it on school days. And bake sales, when you say you can't consume something in school, that's going to be tough to do too. We can encourage it, but I don't want to say that it's not allowed, because this is when we're going to get into trouble. And like the Gatorade machines at the high school, I know the athletes use those a lot, so I don't know if that's something we can totally ban. I know we can discourage that. I don't like to see Coke machines there, but I know Gatorade is something that athletes use a lot, so maybe we should ask Jimmy Duran about that. And then it was, and even putting that down, temperatures of the kids going outside for recess. I think that should be held to the principal's decide, because you can have a 35-degree day that is absolutely bitter cold and wind blowing and everything else, but there could be a day that it's 30 and it's okay to send the kids out. And when we start putting in exact things like that, that's when we're going to get ourselves into trouble. And it has backfired on us before. And I just want to make sure that the PDP, that's the stuff that's in here, that the teachers would get PDP points for when we make them do the professional development, the food service, the training and all that. I want to make sure that that's actually in the contract for the cafeteria workers, that they have to attend that. And the before and after school activities, I mean, that we're going to be doing, there's no mention of a cost in here. Are we going to be charging people to do that, or is that something we're going to offer free? Yes, that was some of the things I got through it. Work in progress, but I just don't want to box ourselves in. I think it's great that we're encouraging kids to be moving, and if we can allow kids to stay after school and do programs, that's great, but we have to make sure there's not going to be a financial burden to us either, to put it to a policy. We can always encourage these things and do things in schools, but once we make it a policy, we're boxing ourselves in. So but food for thought.
Thank you, Mrs. Schuster. It might be worth administration just taking a look at the contractual questions.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to track.
I'll send them to you.
I think Ms. Young would be a good point person for any questions, and then perhaps we could have, I asked her a few months ago, if we could have Sarah come to either this meeting or the next to field any questions particularly.
And perhaps, Mrs. Chisholm, if there are non-contractual edits that you have, I don't know if you wanted to make a motion now or hold off until
I'll hold on. I'll just, yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Crowley.
I read it as an excellent vision statement, what the ideas behind the policy are, and the only suggestion is that naming the people that were on the committee, because you named them, but they obviously contributed a lot to this, so that would be nice to probably recognize them. And maybe if there's some complications with it, we can take it back to policy and then deliver it again. And maybe some of the statements that Ms. Chisholm brought up, we could just make more vague, that
Right.
the Woburn School Committee supports outside
Yes.
recess,
Yes.
instead of locking it into
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
That might make it
Or
a
that
lot
there
easier.
will be recess every day when, if it doesn't happen.
Right. Because I think it was more of the Wellness Committee saying, these are the values and the vision we have for healthy children, I think, Ms. Cormier, if I'm reading it correctly, and not to necessarily say that we're now changing recess via this policy. So maybe we could take another look at it in policy. I don't know, the chair or...
Ms. Cormier, do we have a
agree with
policy
that?
meeting scheduled?
We do not.
That might be something to take a look at for when we are able to schedule one, if it is before our next meeting. I don't know if
We'll see if we can do that. I'll discuss with the members.
So if policy is able to take it up, then we can hear what policy is for reports on that, and then we can determine whether the policy is ready to come for a vote at our next meeting. Does that make sense? Mr. Moran?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, to Ms. Cormier's policy, this is wonderful to see. I just don't know if it's online where a parent could look it over as well, maybe submit comments to yourself, Mr. Chairman, or perhaps Ms. Cormier for the policy subcommittee, their thoughts, their ideas regarding this, so that they too have a voice as well, so that, you know, if they can't make it to a meeting, they at least have an opportunity to chime in a little bit. You know, here's a very, again, to Ms. Cormier and Ms. Crowley's point, open it up to, you know, a little more generalization on some of the topics. But I think parents would want to at least look it over, take a look at it, maybe chime in, maybe not chime in a little bit. So I don't know where that falls under the policy subcommittee or perhaps the school website, just as long as a parent has some access to it. That's my only...
That is actually going to be a very good segue into our very next
That's what I was getting to, yeah. I know that was coming up. I don't believe this was available tonight from the website, so I just want to discuss it further this evening. So it's one of those topics that should be discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Any further questions or comments on policy at AF? Okay. So we'll, this was obviously for discussion only this evening, so we will hopefully take another look at it in policy and take a look at some of Ms. Chisholm's concerns, and then we can bring it back to the full committee.
I will not be able to have policy prior to the next meeting, so I think I would offer, if any questions would go to Ms. Young, and then perhaps Ms. Lee can come to our next meeting.
Okay.
To discuss
Sounds
further.
good. Thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you for your committee's hard work and your own hard work on this.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to our last main agenda item this evening. On August 19th, the school committee met in this room to conduct a workshop. We brought in Ms. Alicia Mallon, who is our field representative from Mass Association for School Committees, who gave us a presentation on a couple of strategies for public engagement and public accessibility for our meetings. This has been a topic of conversation on the committee and in the public in terms of accessibility of school committee documents before meetings, before votes. And so this was an important thing to talk about with the committee and try to work out some strategies going forward. I found the meeting very, very helpful. And Ms. Mallon sort of brought to us a few different ideas for how we can better sort of plan for the future and look towards a more predictable school calendar, which would allow administration to be able to get materials ahead of time, allow the committee to publicize those materials ahead of time, and give the public a little bit more accessibility into the materials that we are looking at.
Mr. Chair, if
Ms.
you're
Crowe.
reporting out, would you want me to take the chair, or are you comfortable just chairing?
Yeah.
Do I have a parliamentary report on this? Should I get this
Yeah.
one? Okay. Would you mind?
Okay. Would anyone like to
Get it
recognize?
warm for you.
I'll recognize Mr. Lipset.
Thank you so much. So yes, as I was saying, we held a meeting on August 19th. There were a few different things that came out of that meeting. One was the possibility of moving towards what's called a year-long agenda. What that would mean is, Ms. McLeod does incredible work year in, year out, keeping us on target and keeping our calendar for us. What we have is a list of our upcoming meeting dates, and that's something that's going to be discussed later this evening as well. What a year-long agenda would do is allow us to actually put into that calendar of events some of the more predictable things that the committee is going to be bringing up over the course of the year. We know certain things. We know we are going to have to do elementary school improvement plans. We know when budget season is. Right? We know some of these predictable yearly events. So being able to enter those provisionally, of course, and subject to change, but into a calendar now gives the public a sense of our year and gives the public a sense of when we are going to be addressing certain items. This would also allow us to set, not exactly a theme for the year, but certainly be able to enter items that we know are going to come up and begin to schedule them so that we can know when things are coming, so that administration can adequately prepare for them. If there's a staff report that's necessary, that gives that staff member a clear deadline and an understanding of when materials need to be delivered by, so that the committee can take a look at them and so that we have access to them ahead of meetings. What this also would allow us to do, and something that the committee discussed at the meeting, was how to make sure that the public has access to our materials day of meeting, at minimum, right, and hopefully in advance as well. So we talked about possibilities for creating a shared Google Drive that would have folders by date that would allow us to, and allow staff to enter material into a public folder that would be viewable by the public either in advance of the meeting or certainly as the meeting begins, so the public can follow along with us at home. I know we don't often have a ton of people here joining us in person, but we have a lot of people watching on YouTube. I know that the screen is not always visible or that readable on the screen. So having people be able to access materials through their laptop or on their phones while they are watching the meeting could be very, very useful. So these are all things that we discussed looking towards and moving towards and hopefully beginning to implement over the next couple of meetings. Dr. Crowley and I have already started conversations in terms of what the future meetings are going to look like, so that we can begin those preparations, and we'll continue to do that. And I know Ms. McLeod has already talked about how we can begin to set this up in terms of public accessibility for documents ahead of time. Ms. McLeod does a wonderful job of linking those materials to our agendas after the meeting so that they can be reviewed, but this would also allow us to do so even ahead of time. The last item that we talked about was what's known as a consent agenda, and this was something that my sense from our workshop had relatively broad support on the committee. The idea that we have things like minutes, balance of accounts, list of bills, things that we know that we're going to do on a regular basis at our meetings. What the consent agenda basically allows us to do, and I'm explaining this for the public as you were all at the training, is to have just a quick agenda item at the start that reads consent agenda, has all of those standard items below it, and we simply take a voice vote on whether to accept the consent agenda. Doing so would approve the minutes that are listed, would approve any balance accounts, bills of accounts, things potentially like field trips could go on a consent agenda. Any member, if they want to discuss anything on the consent agenda, can hold it, and then we will approve the consent agenda without that item, and we can discuss it later. But this is just a small way to make meetings a little bit more efficient and move us along. So that is something that we do need to take a vote on. So I'll offer a motion that we adopt the policy or adopt the practice of a consent agenda on our agendas.
All right, I have a motion on the floor, and I have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to convert our agenda to a consent agenda? Seeing none?
But
Oh,
I just
Ms.
want to make
Chisholm.
sure that for the balance of accounts, I think that might have to be held separately, just on the finance. I think that the warrants that need to be, because we have to have a vote separately, I believe, for that.
I'm stealing
But
Ms. Crowley's pen so I can make a
we
note.
can just verify that, because, I mean, I'm happy to throw it in there, but just want to make sure that we don't have to actually voice for warrants and balance of accounts. The
All
rest of
right.
finance minutes, I think we'd be good with, but the
Okay.
dollar amount, I think we might have to approve.
So it sounds like you're making an amendment on the motion that we have a consent agenda with the exception of paying of the bills.
Right.
Okay. Do I have any?
Might I ask that we
Well, we
just
verify
check with
first.
MASC and
Yeah.
see what the policy is?
Sure.
Yeah.
But certainly if we can't do it, then we wouldn't do
Right.
it. So provisionally on that.
Yeah.
So the motion then is Mr. Lipsett's original motion to adopt a consent agenda
Yep.
and to further research the issue on MASC and get back to us if there was anything to change. Okay. So is there any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion passes.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for your attendance at the workshop. It was, I thought, very productive.
Thank you, and on behalf of the committee, it was very important and enjoyable. Thank you for arranging it, Mr. Lipsett, going above and beyond as always.
Thank you.
And Dr. Crowley was there as well.
Yes.
And he truly enjoyed himself.
I did.
So, yes.
And I want to add, Ms. McLeod participated in the meeting as well. and-
Oh, yes,
and
thank you,
provided a
Ms.
lot of value.
McLeod.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Apologize for that. Okay.
All right,
Well, thank you.
cede back the chair.
Chaos will ensue now.
All right. I actually took my folder with me, so that's fine right here. Thank you very much. All right, so that brings us to subcommittee reports.
Calendar.
No, I'm sorry, it doesn't. Calendar. So we have a proposal for a calendar of regularly scheduled meetings. Members, are there any questions about the calendar?
Do we need to vote to take off the second meeting in November and December as they are
don't
around the holidays when we don't usually
I think
do?
we
So
do. I mean, there's no set policy on when we necessarily meet, so I don't know that we need to vote to.
Well, it's generally the second Tuesday, according to the policy. I'm not saying that we have to do, I'm just curious.
I think if we were to vote to approve this, that would cover it.
Yep, perfect.
So, any discussion on the calendar? All right, I would accept a
Make a
motion.
motion to accept the calendar as presented tonight, Mr. Chairman?
Do I have a second? All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
There you go.
All right, now we can move on to subcommittee reports. I don't believe we've had any meetings aside from finance and policy.
Policy's not met.
Policy is not met, okay. So I believe finance and personnel is our only subcommittee meeting since our last meeting. Am I correct in that? Okay, so Mrs. Chisholm.
Okay, so we met on August 21st at 8:30 a.m. here at the Joyce Middle School. In attendance was Superintendent Matt Crowley, HR Director Tony Wyman, Assistant Business Manager Patty McKinnon, and school committee members Colin Comier and myself. We only had 3 warrants. Warrant 1 was for $3,504,898.24. Warrant 2 was for $12,570.88, and warrant 3 was for $319.86, and we need a motion to approve those.
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And Patty McKinnon gave us the end-of-the-year balance sheet that I believe all of you had reported to everybody, so they have that. And they talked about the capital improvement list that was sent to the mayor's office, and we find out tonight that that's been approved, so we're good to go on that. With requests from facilities, technology, and curriculum are included in that. And then under personnel, we had received 19 resignations this year, and we hired 86 at that point, so we continued on great guns. Administration positions were all filled, team chairs are open, as well as bed openings. Tony Wyman stated that the query, fingerprinting, and onboarding all going well. The hiring process is running much smoother, and the new hires have been happy with the process, doing a lot of it electronically. And then the superintendent updated us with the following: the request from the facilities that Lenny actually talked to us tonight. The Alta Vesta superintendent is asking to hire a full-time, full-year building assistant, and I believe that's been done.
Yeah, well, slight modification since that meeting.
Yeah.
So we have gone to the bullpen.
Yeah.
So retired Principal Ernie Wells is actually at the Alta Vesta in this capacity. He's not there all year, but he's there. So Steve Gallo is the principal at the Alta Vesta, suffered a broken leg over the course of the summer. And so his mobility is impacted, and operationally, being in a new school, trying,
No elevator.
with
No elevator.
yeah, with
No
no
elevator.
elevator. So I was actually over there
Ernie just
today.
carries him upstairs.
Mr. Wells is getting his steps in and is loving every minute of it. And the relationship's working out really well, because with Mr. Gallo being new and Mr. Wells with all the experience, it seems to be going well. And again, it's for I don't know when Mr. He makes a full recovery, but hopefully sooner rather than later.
Okay, great. And enrollment had been challenging, and the amount of paperwork and translation needs had been overwhelming at times. We have one employee who does this, and the superintendent will look to see if we can get a grant that will help my full-time person to assist on that. And the meeting adjourned at 9:30. So any update on that, or?
Yeah, so the last item that Ms. Chisholm just referenced is, so we have, during the summer, Val Cogan is the secretary here during school year at the Joyce. She works over the summer doing enrollment for us, and it's really more than a one-person job, because what happens is people start enrollment and stop. It's not a fluid process, and I'm actually looking down at Ms. McLeod. I remember just a few years ago, we used to do enrollments like on Wednesdays here during the summer, right?
Yes.
And it was a few people.
Three in August.
Three in August. And now it's a constant daily thing. And so one of the things that we are trying to be very cognizant of is making sure that we know who's enrolling where. And so we're looking at a grant-funded position to support the enrollment process, but also our special student services department, because they have some need. It's all surrounding Power School, which is our student management system. And so with the transition from Ms. Judkins to Mr. Gideon, who you'll meet, he's terrific. We're trying to really make the entry into the Woburn Public Schools more seamless, more accurate, in real time. And Ms. Cogan has done a great job, so it's not reflective of her. She's been great all summer, and we've had to ask for some help over the course of the summer. Some other secretaries have come in to support her. It takes a team, and so that's where we are.
And that's it.
All right, thank you very much. There are no other subcommittee reports, correct? All right. So that brings us to correspondence. Did receive a few pieces of correspondence over the summer. Mr. Morenon forwarded along a communication from a Miss Claire Caceres regarding dog waste on school property that was addressed by school facilities staff. A couple of emails from Miss Rachel Kuberry, one letting us know that the MSBA is sponsoring a school logo contest, building a logo contest, which will begin on September 16th and run for 10 weeks, and it's open to 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students who are attending a Massachusetts public school. And more information on that can be found at massschoolbuildings.org. Ms. Kuberry, along with Ms. Caitlin Skinner, both emailed concerns regarding bus routes at the Harold Wyman, and why particular choices were made with particular bus stops, and advocating for bus stops on Middle Street. We did get a communication regarding availability of transportation to the Boys and Girls Club from the Joyce Middle School from Ms. Corinne Genova. That was addressed by Mr. Quayle. And that is it for my correspondence. Members, do we have any additional correspondence? Ms. Cormier.
I just wanted to mention that the Boys and Girls Club is having their Fall Family Fun Fair this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And the Friends of the Woburn Public Library are having their book sale next week, the Friday and Saturday, the 20th and 21st. Currently collecting donations Monday through Thursday, and students are encouraged to sign up in order to earn yes hours.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Crowell.
Speaking of fun, the Building Committee and Capital Planning Committee is meeting on September 26th to continue to talk about the prioritization of school buildings in the city.
Yes, and thank you for all of your hard work on that committee. It is much appreciated.
That's why I mentioned it, so you can say that.
Ms. Wetzel.
Just for everyone, back to school night is this Thursday from 6 to 8.
Elementary.
Elementary.
Yes, indeed.
Sorry, I know that one better. I apologize.
And while we're bringing up, when are middle school and high school, do we know?
Next week, I think it's Wednesday and Thursday next week. One is Wednesday,
Yes.
and the other is Thursday.
Fairly certain middle school is Thursday. So, I may have reasons.
I'd have to look at it, like, it might be Tuesday, Wednesday, I know it's next week.
All right. Any additional correspondence? All right. Future agenda items. This is something that we have sort of talked about a little bit in light of the workshop that we did. So what I would ask members, if you do have future agenda items, things that you either feel that we will need to address over the course of the year or that you would like to address, if you would send them to me so that Dr. Crowley and I can start to look at scheduling and start to look at some long-term planning, that would be great. This is just...
The one that's going to be the toughest, but we need to start yesterday, is redistricting.
Yes.
So I know that even all the work we did last year will be changes because the numbers are changing and things, but we need to put that sooner than later.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of that is also contingent on discussions regarding early childhood centers, so that's a topic that we will be looking at as well. So yes, members have other agenda items. You can certainly mention them now, or just shoot me an email and we can begin to talk about scheduling. Okay? But yes, I imagine that will be a fairly large portion of our year. Yeah.
That's about it for now.
Mr. Austin.
Thank you, Chair. I was thinking to initiate the collaboration between us and City Council to kind of start that conversation about budget now rather than later. I think it would be a good start.
Yeah, I agree. I think we can certainly talk with Mr. Viola, who is the chair of the Finance Subcommittee for the City Council, about being able to appear perhaps a little bit later on in the school year when we have a firm grasp of our spending and our position regarding the budget. But I think that's a fantastic idea. Thank you.
And I can tell you that we've gone to WUSTAT a couple times, so that was, that's monthly. So we'll do that again in September. We did it July and August.
Thank you, Mr. Austin. I appreciate that. Any additional? Yes, Ms.
Sorry, Mr. Austin made me think of something. It was brought up at a city council meeting by Councilor Demers. The school committee used to meet with the city council, I don't know how, quarterly maybe, and just sort of make sure we're all on the same page. I think that would be something wonderful if we could start doing that again as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what we would wind up being able to do through Mr. Viola's Finance Subcommittee.
Perfect. I kind of figured.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. That has been a very valuable resource and ability, a platform for us to communicate. So I think that would be a great thing to bring back. Great. All right. We do have an executive session tonight to discuss the deployment of security personnel or devices or strategies with respect thereto. Do I have a motion to enter executive session?
Motion to executive session this evening, discuss deployment of security personnel devices, strategy with respect thereto. Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Voice vote.
Yes.
Roll call.
Yes. Yes.
Roll call?
Roll call.
Mr. Austin?
Yes.
Ms. Chisholm?
Yes.
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Ms. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno?
Yes.
Ms. Wetzel?
Yes.
Mr. Lipset?
Yes. So we are entering executive session. Let's close it up. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Mr. Moreno.
So, Matt.